Well, hello. As you can tell, I'm Kimberly with Wake Up with KC, but I'm outside, and my partner came home for a week, and he's sleeping in, so I had to rearrange myself here. And I'd like to. I mean, nature's beautiful. I have to honestly say, it's a nice day here. I'm in South Florida, and I started thinking about something about I had a guest previously that talked about, multi dimensions, the third dimension to the fifth dimension. And, I know somebody that is actually a hypnotherapist that deals with multi-dimensional healing in it. So I asked her to come on my show and explain it in order to help enlighten, educate, inform, and help you as well. So let's welcome Mary Youngblood.
Hi, Kim.
Mary, hey,
Hi.
how are you doing, gorgeous?
Hey, Kim. Thank you for inviting me
like,
on your show.
Oh, thank you for being here. I love to share good, information that's educational and even enlightening, to help others. And you have a special gift. You're also a psychic medium as well, but you have a special um, service that you provide to help in healing, doing multidimensional hypnotherapy. So I'd like to know more and get educated, and I have my audience here that could probably use some, insight and be, if they need help, they can contact you, especially. But where does your story actually begin?
Well, I would say it begins when I was born, but we'll speed it up a notch. We don't have to go through the whole thing. So just a little preview of growing up. When you have gifts, you don't necessarily know you have gifts until you realize that you have gifts, until something provides a contrast for you to understand what's going on. So I would say, although I grew up having sensitivities to energies and being able to see energies, and things were happening that I was really not aware of until I had a perspective, something to compare it against, that I was different, or some of the things that I was experiencing weren't maybe the same as everybody else was experiencing. But it really started to take hold in my late teens, early 20s, I think, is when it really started to unfold. And I really still at that point wasn't questioning a lot of it. I didn't seek it out. It was just kind of normal. And again, probably my late 20s, early 30s is when it really, really started to, I really started to observe and see and want to investigate, like, okay, this is what's happening. These are the experiences. This is how I am. But what does it mean? Before it didn't really have a meaning. I didn't really care to seek it out. I didn't, so at that point, probably early 30s, when I really decided to start diving in and finding out, well, what does this mean? Are there other people that are seeing this, feeling this, having this experience? And although I had been on a spiritual path for a while, It really took hold around that time. It was once I really started seeking to understand, to know, and then if I have this, what's the meaning? Like, why? Like, there's got to be a reason that this is happening to me, or that I'm having these experiences. And that's kind of where the story began. And that's when things really started to come together, as I dove in deeper to asking questions and seeking knowledge and wisdom. And most of that did come from spirit, from God, from creator. So from that creative force, like we all do sometimes when things are happening. For me anyways, I went inside, I would ask the questions like, why, what am I doing? You know, where is this going? Like, I'm having these beautiful, amazing experiences. And I'm not really sure what to do with them. So I allowed God, and I allowed the beings and presence of other, I'll say this, for the presence of beings that that aren't tangible. These are not logical. This is not something that you would experience with your five senses, but it's something that went beyond. And I started to receive a lot of answers, a lot of information, and a lot of guidance. And that's really what opened the door. I still, at those points when I was asking the questions, I still didn't really know like what books to read, so I relied fully on spiritual essence and energy to open the doors for me and open my path.
Yeah, because they don't have that like in schools, or not even in religion, in the churches.
No, not the way.
It totally, it even through my experiences of what I was experiencing and going through it, and I was in church and religion, and I was just like, something doesn't feel right. You know, I'm like, but what the hell is going on? You know, like, I don't
Right.
understand. Where do I go? Who do I seek to talk to about my experiences? And that's when I met you. But the
Yes.
funny thing about it is you were in a office depot parking lot, and I saw your sign, so I real quick took a snapshot of it. I'm like, okay, I'll get back to it because I'm, we're busy. But then the second time around, you were at the middle school, and I saw your car again, and I was like, okay, hold up. I'm seeing it again. That's when I started learning to pay attention. The synchronicities, more than a coincidence. And that's when I met you, and I started talking to you, and you were enlightening me about my own spiritual experiences, and you're like, I didn't have no one either. So it's like really nice to relate to somebody. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. And I would definitely say that probably that was one of the most challenging pieces for myself of kind of waking up, but really to what was going on with me and understanding, was the fact that I hadn't yet at that point met anyone or had people in my group that had already been through this process. Now, I did have a few friends at the time that were also starting to experience the stuff, but none of us, it was also new that very few people that were in my circle that were having similar experiences, or that were kind of coming into this consciousness or this awareness about themselves being more than just physical and things that were happening. So one of the most challenging things is that I fully had to rely on spiritual resources and the things that were coming to me. These the things that I was trying to figure out is the spiritual beings, the masters, the angels, these presence that were coming through were kind of my teachers, because I was like, I didn't know. I had to find, it was like the pieces would come together, and I was able to connect the dots. Like you said, paying attention is huge, because before, nothing means anything, because you're not even there. You're not thinking about paying attention. But paying attention is huge, and that is why. But yes, and so then I decided. And we'll get to this in a minute when things really shifted on my spiritual path. But one of the things that I knew after going through it, and once I felt like I had my feet on solid ground with it, and I was really like, okay, I get it, I can do this. That's when I decided that I was also going to work as what I titled myself a spiritual awakening guide, because I thought, man, I didn't want anybody to have to struggle or not feel like they had guidance the way that I did. So I was like open, channel to anybody. I'm like, you need help? Yeah, you yeah, ask me anything. Whatever I can do to help, I will help. And that's what happened with
Well,
when you came in.
oh yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh. And we've been through some interesting spiritual experiences with beings, and
for sure.
with me connecting to the ancient civilizations
Yes.
of channeling them and just learning to translate the language. That's why I have you
Yeah.
now. But would you agree also with the millennials and the younger generation that it's in about their 20s where their spiritual awakening is starting?
Yeah, for some of them, yes. I have noticed an influx in just in the work that I'm doing of youth. Yeah, it's starting to the gap is starting to get a little bit bigger. I'm starting to see them really kind of starting at some at 17, 18. But I would say right now the majority that come through, they're really like, you know, finding these gifts and having these experiences and these awakenings and yeah, probably between the ages mostly of 19 and 30. Right
So,
around,
and
I've
it's
had a
like,
few that are like 26, 27, but somewhere between, 19 and, yeah, mid 20s.
and they're getting like hit hard with their awakening.
Oh, yeah,
Would you
yes.
agree?
And I think, oh, totally, totally hard. And I look at it and I'm thinking, my goodness, thank goodness thank God, thank you, angels, that that our generation or our where we were at in the game that we're here because as they're coming through, they don't have to have half the challenges or that maybe we did, finding people or seeking people out that could help us or guide us, or even just have somebody that understands, where you don't think, I get so many times where they think that maybe they're crazy or something's wrong with them, and quickly assure them that absolutely they're not crazy, nothing is wrong. They've just never had anyone to project it back at them as being truth.
Mm-hmm. And when you agree that there's a lot of limited beliefs, misconceptions, mental programming, and emotional energetic traumas from our history that seems to be replaying itself, and then with the younger generation, with the spiritual awakening, it's a massive confusion of so much.
Yeah. And I also feel that, yes, and I also feel that some of it too is that, they get frustrated. The frustration with some of them comes from the fact that I feel that on some level, they know they're here at a specific time to do specific things. There's a part of them that comes in strong, knowing that probably stronger than I did when I was that age. And so what I've been seeing is a little bit of this conflict, and this does raise a little bit of concern because of the work that I do. I have had the most intimate opportunities to work with families in grief, maybe that have lost children, teens, and young adults to suicide. And one of the things spiritually that I feel is that if there's no outlet, if there's no education, if there's no one in their life to support and listen to what they're saying and what they're feeling, that these things are very real. Most of these young souls coming in, you'll notice, are stronger than ever. They're humanitarians. They want to save the planet. They have these missions and this knowing and this vibration within them that is far different than, not that we don't have it, but it's just a different, they're from a whole different wave. And has led, I feel, to feelings of these young souls. Some of them, they just can't take it. They're misunderstood. It leads to depression, all these other things. When and it's it's nobody's fault, and I certainly would never put any blame necessarily on one specific person or a family or an individual, as much as it's just a lack of consciousness or a lack of awareness or a lack of understanding individually and as a nation or a world, that we have to start addressing and working with these younger people in a much different manner. We cannot use that same consciousness when raising them or bringing them along on their journey. It just can cause a lot of frustration, and these youth don't really know how to express it. It's not that they can verbalize really what's going on, because it's an inner knowing. And I don't know that they're always clear, so they're looking to the adults for guidance, and if it's not there, it can sometimes, I've noticed, have unfavorable effects.
Wow, that's impressive, Mary. And like, would you agree that it's time that we all wake up and take responsibility, even for our ancestors that did not know any better? And then,
100%. Yeah. Sorry,
so
but
I mean,
yeah.
it's and then, like, what can we do to, like, anything or start with to make that change?
Well, I would say that we need to open up ourselves. It starts with one. It starts with us as individuals, our parents, who we are as individuals. We need to understand and go through the process ourselves. So it's time, you said it with that word responsibility, which maybe in some terms can have a negative effect. We think responsibility, we think, oh, heaviness. And it's like, no, liberation and freedom. When we're able to become aware and take personal responsibility, it's like being the captain of your own ship. It's like, oh, I can lead this. So personal responsibility needs to have a whole nother tone and energy flow to it. But I do believe that we all need to be personally responsible, meaning it's time to become more self-aware. It's time to dive into getting to know ourselves as more than just human physical beings. That in itself is beautiful and amazing. But if we limit ourselves to the knowing, belief, and understanding that that's all we are, man, are we shortchanging ourselves.
Yeah, and it's, I don't think you have to do self-care. I understand that aspect. But then I also look like I'm here to serve too. It's not just about me, even though I have to take care of myself, but I'm here to help and serve as a purpose to help mankind wake up. And because when we could shift that energy and start uniting together, we change the planet too. Would you agree? It's just that all of us collectively energizing together to make those changes.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, starting with self. Once we clear and do our own work and get clear, and so once we do it here, then absolutely. I mean, I feel like you, and I'll speak for myself, but I feel like more people could agree with this. Is that we're here to help others. That's our purpose. Our purpose really is to help others in any way we can. So our lives are dedicated to the service and awakening of others. And yes, I like what you said too about when we do this, when we allow ourselves to open up and become aware of things, matters greater, spiritual awareness, anything that goes beyond just being physical and human. We have the opportunity to heal, like you said, ancestral, generational, because it's a belief system, it's a consciousness, and energy doesn't die. We know this. So if it was a thought or it was something implemented eons ago, we can still find those reoccurring or cycles or situations everywhere. And I feel that it's the opportunity to see it and choose something different, a new thought, a new action, a new, love.
something better than, it to me it's like I share this on my podcast. It's like I look around and I'm like, and it's like a movie screen of history keeps been repeating
Yes.
itself, just different time periods. I'm like,
Yes.
yo, when are you gonna wake up? Like, hello, we can choose something better. But
I agree. I agree. And it does go like that. It absolutely does, and we keep waiting. It's like, okay, wow. It's like once you can see the patterns, once you can see everything, just the repetition. And it's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, it's like, are we ready for something new? Like, don't you
right,
want to get off this merry-go-round and try another ride?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Mary, being a multidimensional hypnotherapist, what is it like to go through that process, and how do you do it in a way that it helps people?
Yeah, well, it's so cool because the process of hypnosis alone is extremely powerful because we're able to go beyond the working functions of the conscious mind. So we step aside from logic and reason because in the work that we do, or the work that I do, um, you're not going to find logic. You're not going to find reason. So so hypnosis is really cool because when you eliminate that, when you can kind of bypass the conscious mind and go directly to the subconscious, you don't have that battle of logic and reason. That kind of goes away, and information is held there. I mean, anything about you since the beginning of you, whether it's a million lifetimes or just one lifetime, is stored in the subconscious mind. Every feeling, every emotion, every thought, every experience. So that alone is powerful. But like anything else, I go beyond because I feel and know and believe that we are more than just physical beings. And I include and open up through the subconscious mind to the higher self and the higher energies and the other bodies to work on all of these levels. So for clearing and releasing, when you clear and release past hurts, you heal wounds, traumas, but when we do it from this perspective or from all this angles, imagine a prism with a rainbow coming through. And so you have all of these, beams coming through. So you're working on all these levels, and that's kind of the multi-dimensional work. It's like you include this work on so many different levels, and it's very powerful work. Very powerful work, and I've watched and been amazed. Well, first I'll say this before I say anything else: the gratitude I have for finding um, this tool and being drawn to it, and having such an amazing teacher who taught me not only hypnosis, but I worked with him extensively, and he guided me and helped me and taught me how to use all these other dimensions and powers to integrate that with hypnosis to some of the most amazing transformations. And I've worked with him, and his name is Ron Dewald, so a shout out to him. One of the most amazing teachers that I've had the opportunity to work with, although there's been many, but definitely a powerful one. Led me to, and so I have all this gratitude because yes, I get to be a part of it, and I've got the training to do the work. But it's not just that. I'm still just a vessel being used, channeling my most highest nature and all these other energies to come through me and work directly with you. So,
Wow. And with all those energies and the spirits and the dimensions and everything, what can you tell or share with the one of the or one or two profound spiritual experiences that you've had that just mind blowing when you think about it?
well, it's hard to pick one, and you know this. I'm like, I have to pick one. Oh my gosh. Okay, but one I will start with this. I think it was, I want to say around 2013. Around 2013, This was another big soul transformation, wake up moment, whatever. I I had felt like my spiritual life and my spiritual gifts that had been really pushing me. So I was paying attention, and they were pushing me into this next level, pushing me. But I was, I can be very stubborn too. I'm also a fire sign, and I kind of like doing things my way, and it's got to be fun. But I was stalling. I was kind of stalling for whatever reasons, like, yeah, okay. And but things kept getting stronger and stronger, and the feeling and the push inside of me to move forward was getting stronger. And the more I avoided it and resisted it, the stronger it became. And so one morning, I'll never forget, this was probably one of the most powerful moments. And also kind of because I had been resisting, it's kind of funny to me when I think back on it, but it was early in the morning. I'm up, I'm having my coffee, I journal, I write. I've been a writer for a good portion of my life. So I always have my coffee. I was just me. I have my little routine, my candles, and I have my journal out. And before I could even take a sip of my coffee, I'm sitting there and I feel this energy, this large presence behind me, so big and so large and so close to me. It was right over my left shoulder. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, what's about to happen? Something's going to happen. I'm like, oh, because I'm so used to things showing up. And I was like, I heard this most booming voice. The voice that I heard was like loud, so loud, like thunder. And the voice said, do you know who I am? And I knew just by feeling, but I kind of looked a little bit too. And there was this pillar, this huge, my whole room was filled with light. And it was like the tallest pillar I've ever seen. And I said, you're Archangel Michael. And the voice said, yes. And the voice told me to pick up my pen and paper. So I picked up my, and it's so, when it's happening, it's so powerful. I just immediately did what I was told, picked up my pen and my paper, and was given some direct, specific information about my path, what I had chosen, and that it was that the time was now. That I was actually told that I was chosen, that I had chosen a path that very few choose and that very few walk. And that my soul is calling me to do this now. And it was so profound. Like I knew I couldn't stall. I knew I couldn't say no. I knew the gig was up. I could not pretend. I couldn't put it on the back corner because nobody was gonna let me. And so that started, I channeled that day, and this being that I would call Archangel Michael, this incredible being, channeled with me for a while that morning. And then that really opened up, because see, at that point I still had another business. I wasn't doing my spiritual work full time, and it certainly I wasn't out in the public with it. So that at that moment, it became very clear to me that everything else was to now be in the past. I was to let go of everything else. I was to have this large amount of faith and move forward. And by the way, at that point in my life, I was a single mom. I've been a single mom for a long time, and my kids were still fairly little. My son was in elementary, and my daughter had just started middle school. And I remember just, all of those personal blocks that I had to work through, the fear, it really made me step up my game and my beliefs and my faith, because I was not allowed to turn back. I had to shut down my cleaning business. I had a little yacht cleaning company. So all of this stuff was happening, and I was being guided and told, and I decided to follow what was coming. It also went into at least a good 2 years of channeling entities and spirits and beings. It was pretty profound. But at that time, it really made me become fully responsible for my path. And I had to step it up, which meant those little things like outgrowing fear, in so many different angles of my life, because one, not only the fear of how am I going to do this? How could I ever make a living? And so I had all these things, like most of us do, financial insecurities, being able to take care of these kids. There was no support coming from outside sources, but very few. I will say, thank God for grandparents. They helped a lot, but yeah, so it started me on this journey, and I had to become very responsible, and I had to start doing a lot more of my own inner work, eliminating these old programs, this old consciousness of fear and unworthiness, and could I ever do it, and was it real, and am I going crazy? It was like all those other things, and I had to put all that aside and work through. And the cool thing is like, you really want to get to know yourself on a whole level, on a larger scale. Go through that process. Let me tell you, it was pretty powerful.
Oh yeah, and and thank you for sharing that. I hope this helps somebody in hearing this and watching this. Where do you see, what you're doing in the future, and how do you, or what would you say of how it's going to make a difference?
I'd say the biggest difference, first and foremost, my gratitude goes to myself and my own life. It has changed my life. It's like second to none. I love my life. I love my journey. I love my purpose. I love everything about it. So the first gift was that I was able to see and get to, experience this kind of work and healing on myself. Then came others, and I'd say the first two people that got the real benefit, probably my greatest treasure and gift still to this day. And I work with a lot of people and I love every bit of it. But probably the most powerful experience was being able to raise my children with this. After, doing my work and going through and learning these things and being extremely open. Being able to raise my children with this consciousness and spiritual and awakening and sixth sense and all of this has probably been I'll say that's been the greatest treasure. And they're young adults now, but I still get to guide them and be that influence and force in their life, which has I love kids. I love all people. I love all children, but to have the opportunity to watch the effects and the ways that I was able to change myself to raise them has been just amazing. My most amazing gift. And and then for others, being able to move through, like you said, when we do this work, I'll speak just mostly on the transformational hypnosis for right now. You're being able to release and remove and heal not only this lifetime and the emotional body, the energy body, your most highest self, your belief system, the programming, the subconscious. But like you said, even going back, and you can clear past lives, you can do generational, ancestral. So this work becomes personal. I feel that every person that I have the opportunity to work with, which is also a gift, that I get to be a part of such a beautiful moment in their lives. I would say the thing is that the more that we become aware and awaken and we establish that new consciousness, that new thought, that everything starts to change, that goes out forever into the worlds and into the universes, and that energy helps heal. You want to know, how am I supposed to heal these situations around the world when you feel so powerless, or how do I help that starving child? It's when we realize that we stop the starving of ourselves, and we start to realize that at some point we have been either a part of it or the lack of us. When we're able to heal ourselves and change that consciousness, it automatically helps to shift the consciousness everywhere, to create safety
Wow.
and love and security all the way across the world.
Wow, there's a train going by. I just heard it. I was like, oh yeah, all right. I
Well,
had
we
a
can let it
flashback
run
to St.
by.
Augustine. Now I hear it. I'm like, hey, wait
I
a
hear
minute.
that
Get
train
on the
coming.
scene.
Oh, yes. What do I need to do here? Looks like I need to charge. Let me hang on. I gotta go get my battery. Sorry, my computer. I'll just carry it with me.
So, where I know you do workshops and you do hypnosis training and certifications and whatnot. So, do you have anything coming up to let us know
Um,
about?
yes, dates are not confirmed yet, so I'll be getting the dates out. But I am having another certification. I'm going to. Excuse me, pardon me. Let me plug this in. Um, yes, for training, for transformational hypnosis training, I'm going to be doing that again in July. I don't have the date set yet, but as soon as I do, I'll get those out. And then stay tuned. I don't have a lot of the dates picked yet. I've been trying to work things out with. I know we're still in a pandemic, so as far as large crowds and things like that. So I do have a couple of events coming up, but we just got to hold on for the dates.
Well, are you thinking about doing a virtual event?
I have thought about it, but I haven't really put anything into action yet. So yes, I would just say everybody stand by because we got great things
Because
are coming, and I'm going to
I
be
would
doing a
love,
lot of.
I would love to help you make that happen.
That
Because you
would be
know my
awesome.
gift.
And no, and that's another thing that I love. I absolutely love the fact that we all have that our gifts come through in so many different ways. Kim has gifted with like anything that has to do that is computer, techie, recording, all the stuff that I have no clue. And Kim has that, and so it's been super cool because Kim, you helped me with all the stuff that I really, not only do I not know, I really have no desire to learn. So, but when we get to share that space together, and you get to use your gifts and shine, I benefit personally, but I can see how we all benefit.
Yes. And
Your gifts are just amazing.
well, thank you. How can somebody get a hold of you? I know I'm going to put a link in the description, but how can they get a
Yeah.
hold of you if you want to get hypnotherapy, healing, and all that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. You can email me at myoungblood888 @gmail.com. You can reach out to me by calling 772-323-1604. That's my work number. And if leave a message, leave an email, and I'll get back with you. If I don't get to you right away, then it will be very soon.
Well, I thank you for your time, Mary. I will work with you later. We'll have to get together so I can show you and create a virtual event so people can come
Oh,
and.
that would be, which I think would be awesome. One of the workshops that has been, I say they, so I got that inspired, divinely inspired, all that information that comes through to me. One class that I'm putting together, it may be more of a lecture or a talk or a workshop, but it's on communication. And it takes they keep giving me the info. So I'm putting this one together now. And the communication is more about understanding, breaking it down. You said multidimensional, so we're going to talk about multidimensional communication. And that's what they've been really pushing and giving me information on, that I'm to do some kind of a talk or a workshop or a lecture. So I'm in the middle of putting that together as they continue to filter or give me the information and how they want me to present this. But that was been a big one that we have. I need to realize that we're all communicating all the time on many levels. So these multidimensional, or these many levels, we're communicating. If we're sleeping, if we're focused on an activity that is very human or physical or work related, we're these large, expansive. If you could see, like when I look at people, if you could see what I see, this isn't just a spirit that kind of inhabits a body or comes into this, this energy. The body is almost like this um hologram or this projection. If you could see our beings, we're these large, the largeness of who we are is so big and so incredible. So you could imagine that energy is stirring up and it's communicating, okay, on levels. So energy, we've got all of this communication going on, and then it kind of breaks it down and brings that and narrows it into the scope of understanding that when we talk about creating and communication, being very clear that we have all these forms of communication happening at one time, and we just don't know it or haven't become aware of it. So that one's going to be really good.
All right, I look forward to joining that one. You could do a virtual event, and then
Yes.
I'll be in the back doing
Yeah.
the administration while I'm listening and participating. So
Yes.
I look forward to you doing this. I'll get with you later to talk about the other aspects of making it virtual. And
Okay.
thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure hanging with you.
Yeah. Magical things happen when we're together, Kim.
I know.
Powerful
This
things
is
happen.
Wake Up with KC. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I hope this episode helped you. Join me every Monday, and you can reach out and say hey at wakeupwithkc@gmail.com. Have an amazing week, and talk to you next Monday for more amazing topics to share with you that you don't want to miss.